Komponenten. Direkt Appetit wieder. Wie?
É preciso lavar a máquina. Que bom!
All the insulation materials that we used in this video are cork based. And guess what? This material comes from a tree called cork oak. It's this tree here. It didn't come exactly from this tree, but you know, it came from the same species. And usually you don't see me talking a lot in our videos, but today I thought I'll give you a little bit of background information on this tree. And it's interesting because here in Portugal it's not popular. You often see it by the road, cut down, and some really small resprout is coming from a cut down trunk, but it can actually grow really tall and is an awesome tree. And that's why I thought it's time to make some publicity for this tree. And I had the idea when two of my neighbors came over and told me that they don't like this tree and I should cut down this tree, and they don't like it. And so I was wondering why. And the thing is that this tree is protected. It's protected and you're not allowed to cut it down. And why is that? Because a lot of people cut it down. And so it's kind of a vicious circle. And people don't like it because it's not as profitable as other trees. Other trees that you see a lot in Portugal are, for example, eucalyptus trees, which have been imported from Australia. And this native tree cannot compete. Why? Because it takes longer time to grow. It's an oak, takes a long time to reach the same height as other trees. And the thing is, actually this tree is super awesome, and this is why I want to make this short advertisement about this tree. And yes, it has its natural insulation. Look at that. The bark is really thick and protects it from wildfires. And people have found that this bark is an awesome insulation material. You can take it off from the tree once it's 30 years old and can make all these products that we used in this video from it. And the great thing is that when you take the bark off, it regrows, so it regenerates over the course of roughly 9 years, and then you can harvest again, and it doesn't harm the tree, while you can make all these nice materials from its bark. And so if you in your building project are thinking about insulation materials, definitely consider cork, and you will know that by considering cork you will help this tree. Not only this one, a lot of others here in Portugal and Spain and Italy. And I think it's definitely worth it, and this tree will be happy. He won't feel it, but he definitely will feel it if he is not cut down, and so all the others also. And thanks for watching, and happy building, guys.